For Zion's sake, I will not keep silent, and for Jerusalem's sake, I will not rest, until her vindication shines out like the dawn, and her salvation like a burning torch. The nations shall see your vindication, and all the kings your glory. And you shall be called by a new name, that the mouth of the Lord will give you. You shall be a crown of beauty in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the hand of your God. You shall no more be termed forsaken, and your land shall no more be termed desolate. But you shall be called, my delight is in her, and your land merry. For the Lord delights in you, and your land shall be merry. For as a young man marries a young woman, so shall your builder marry you. And as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your God rejoice over you. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
We will read the psalm responsibly as indicated in the bulletin. Your love,
The Lord reaches to the heavens, and your faithfulness to the clouds. Your righteousness like our strong mountains, your justice like a great deep. You shield the land and you, O Lord. How priceless is your love, O God! Your people take refuge in the shadow of your wings. They feast upon the abundance of your house. You give them drink from the river of your delights. For with you is the well of life, and in your light we see the light. Continue your loving kindness to those who know you, and your favor to those who are true of heart.
A reading from the book of 1 Corinthians. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brothers and sisters, I do not want you to be uninformed. You know that when you were pagans, you were enticed and led astray to idols that could not speak. Therefore, I want you to understand that no one speaking by the Spirit of God ever says that Jesus be cursed. And no one can say Jesus is Lord except by the Holy Spirit. Now there are varieties of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are varieties of services, but the same Lord. And there are varieties of activities, but it is the same God who activates all of them in everyone. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. To one is given through the Spirit the utterance of wisdom, and to another the utterance of knowledge, according to the same Spirit. To another faith by the same Spirit. To another gifts of healing by the one Spirit. To another the working of miracles. To another prophecy. To another the discernment of spirits. To another various kinds of tongues. To another the interpretation of tongues. All these are activated by one and the same Spirit, who allots to each one individually, just as the Spirit chooses. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Please stand for
Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, The servant called the bridegroom and said to him, everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now. Jesus did this, the first of his signs in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. Normally in this spot, I offer you a simple psalm verse or other Bible verse to give you a moment to center your hearts before the sermon. Today I offer you some words attributed to St. Augustine, who said, a Christian should be an alleluia from head to foot. So old Sven lived in a little house on the plains of North Dakota with a pet dog as his only company, and one day the dog died. So Sven went to his Lutheran pastor and asked if the pastor might perform a funeral for the dog, and the pastor said, I'm sorry, we don't do funerals for dogs. But there's a couple other churches in town, and you might check in with them because who knows what they might offer. And so Sven said, okay, I'll do that, but by the way, do you think $5,000 is enough to say thank you to the church that provides the service? To which the pastor said, holy, 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 why didn't you tell me the dog was a Lutheran? Speaking of money, there was once a $1 bill, old, and a $20 bill, also old, that were being retired and were sent back to the Federal Reserve Bank. And they started a conversation. And the $20 bill said, I've had a pretty good life. I've spent time in Vegas. I've been in some of the finest restaurants in New York. I've been on a Caribbean cruise. What about you? The $1 bill said, well, I've been to the Methodist church. I've been to the Baptist church. I spent some time in the Lutheran church. And the $20 bill said, what's a church? So there's a method to what I'm doing this morning to start. I'd like you to reach for the Red Book and open up to hymn number 561. 561. This is not one we've learned yet. It's my hope that during Lent on Wednesday nights we'll sing this as a part of a vesper service, an evening prayer service called Holy Evening Prayer. About everybody I've ever met who has sung Holy Evening Prayer loves it. I hope you will too if we get to that. But this is part of that service, and I'm going to sing the first line once and invite you to try it out with me. This is a little sample. It goes like this. Joyous light of heavenly glory, loving glow of God's own face, you who sing creation's story, shine on every land and race. Your turn with me. Joyous light of heavenly glory, loving glow of God's own face, you who sing creation's story, shine on every land and race. That hymn, and the rest of it that we won't sing this morning, is one of the earliest Christian hymns outside of what you find in the Bible. In fact, it may be the absolute earliest of them all. It dates back to the 200s, or maybe early 300s, so it's really old, really old. In its original form, it was in Greek. And the opening words of the song in Greek are phos hilera. Phos hilera. Phos is the Greek word for light, and hileron is the root of our word hilarity. So many translations like this one call it joyous light or gladsome light. But to be honest, I prefer the translation of hilarious light. And I think Jesus would approve. I think his what's going on in the gospel suggests that maybe we haven't left enough room in our life as Christians. I'm not saying this is a blanket statement that covers all, for some holy hilarity in the midst of our Christian faith. And there have been some pretty hilarious moments, I'm sure, along the line for you. I know there have been for me. One Sunday morning, I stood up at the altar in a church I was serving with the assisting minister, and we were getting ready for the prayers of the people. And she was standing there ready to read out of the book when all of a sudden, through an open window, came a big old robin, sat right on the book, looked right at her, as if to say, "What are you doing here?" And the room broke out in holy hilarity. On one Christmas Eve, after the communion service was over, I was getting ready to sing Silent Night. And the lights were to go out, and the reader, who in this case happened to be by day a professional clown, stood up in the pulpit to read from John 1. And the lights were to go out, and he was to read, "In the beginning was the Word." Well, whoever was working the sound booth and the lights that day, I think were new at the job, because he hadn't gotten very far into the reading when the lights came back on. And then they went off. And then they went on again, and then they went off. So this fellow who was doing the reading couldn't resist the opportunity to ad-lib. So he got to the part where it said, "And the light shines in the darkness, and in the light, and in the dark, and in the light, and in the dark." And I was nearby at the time. I was not finding it all that funny, but I've since mellowed on that. And on another Christmas Eve, when it was time to light the little candles, the usher came down the aisle with a big candle to light everybody's in the pew. And one little girl sitting in the front row saw that candle and knew just what to do, and she started to sing, "Happy Birthday." And then there was the pastor I read about who used a word processor and had a standardized order of service for his funerals. And every time it was a new funeral, he would just do a search and replace feature. So this particular service was for Edna. So he did a search and replace from the last service, which was for Mary, and he got up and then led the congregation in the Apostles' Creed when they therefore confessed that Jesus was born of the Virgin Edna. And I almost made the same mistake in a service that I was doing together with Pastor Craig Beaker, some of you may remember. He was helping me up in Camarillo with the baptism, and I had done the same search and replace. And luckily, he and I were the only ones that had the copy, which then in the baptism service read that at the Jordan River, your son was baptized by Pastor John. I'm not that old. So I believe that holy hilarity, if you want to call it that, is inspired by Jesus' words as well as his deeds. As I mentioned at the start of the service, on the night of his arrest, as he shared the Last Supper with his disciples, which is, of course, a very somber moment, in that conversation he had with them, he reminded them over and over again, "I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be full." And then we get to the matter of the wine in today's gospel story from the wedding at Cana. A lot of time is devoted in sermons about the wine to the change from water to wine, or the quality of the wine that was produced. And those are all fine things to think about, but I want to talk about the quantity of wine a little bit. It says there were stone jars that held up to 30 gallons each. If they were full to the top with 30 gallons, and they turned all that water into wine, that's 900 gallons of wine. If you were to pour that 900 gallons into standard bottles of a fifth of a gallon, that's 880 gallons of wine. That equals 900 bottles of wine for this wedding. Okay, 5 glasses of wine per bottle, roughly. That's probably generous. That works out to about 4,500 glasses of wine available at this wedding. I did some checking, and I learned that the nearby town of Nazareth, at the time of Jesus, it's estimated that there were about 500 people in that town. If Cana was of similar size, that means that every man, woman, and child at that wedding got 9 glasses of wine that day for the wedding. So I think that's Jesus' way of saying, I want you to have joy in abundance beyond your imagination. And I think it's clear Jesus wanted that joy to be abundant all the way through. This picture here that I have is probably familiar to many because it represents the picture that was on the wall of just about every Sunday school classroom I ever attended as a kid. The only difference is, I think the ones that I used to see, the hair was a little better combed and almost looked like he'd used conditioner on it before he took the picture. Imagine what the difference would be in our life if this had been the picture of Jesus on the wall. Would it have made a difference in how we approach our Christian faith, replacing a fairly somber Jesus with a much more joyful Jesus? I don't know, and we'll never know. But I do know that that image and the sense of the joy that he shared at the wedding has influenced me in the way that I hear the words of the 23rd Psalm, that verse that says, "My cup overflows," or in the older version, "My cup runneth over." Because I want you to picture Jesus inviting you to sit at a banquet table with him. And you and many others sit down to share this joyful celebration banquet that he's invited you to. And all around you are your enemies. There's cancer over there, there's divorce over there, and there's terrorists over there, and drive-by shooting over there. They're all around this table. And in the presence of these enemies, Jesus reaches for the wine and starts to pour it into the cup for you. But he doesn't pour it carefully like the altar guild would pour it carefully into a chalice for Sunday service, because he's busy laughing. He's laughing as he pours. He's pouring carelessly and splashing all over the place as he looks around and says, I know these enemies are here. I know that. And I know they're strong, but I am stronger. Trust me, I am stronger. Don't let them frighten you. And so will you laugh with me? Will you at least smile with me, he says. And will you not forget to smile this morning and even laugh as you taste the wine of our feast of victory for our God. Amen.